Welcome to the Pulse with Peter B. I'm your host, Peter Biancamano. Let's get you to the pulse on everything you need to know. And my energy level is high, and it's because of the fabulous person to my right, and that is Ms. Daria DeLucia of At Hoboken Eats. Daria, great to see you. Oh, okay.
I like the move.
We're bopping.
I like the move you
You know
had.
why? We're starting to fist pump here. You know why? Because we're heading to the Jersey Shore, Daria. We're heading to the Jersey Shore, where Daria is from, because today we're going to talk about Project Brunch, which is located at 357 US 9 South in Manalapan, also the home of Mike, the Situation Sorrentino from Jersey Shore.
Name drop.
Huge fan. Daria, you went to Monmouth University.
I did.
Which wasn't too far away from there.
Nope.
It was the first time you tried Project Brunch when you were in college?
I did not try it in college. I tried it after college.
Wow.
Yeah. So
How'd you stumble on it?
So one of my best friends / college roommates lives down in the area.
Cool.
And we were down there for her birthday, and we were, I hate to keep saying this, we were kind of hungover. So she was like,
You've never mentioned that on the show before, or getting drunk.
She's like, I have a fire brunch place to go to.
Fire.
And it's funny because it's actually right next to where I got my wedding dress from, like right next door. And Matt and my dad had lunch there when my mom and I were picking it up, and they were like, oh my God, this place was so good. This place was so good, but they were done. So it was time to go. And then when we went there with my friends, I was like, yo, Dad. Yo, you were not lying.
What did I tell you? As soon as you go down to Manalapan, you
It
say,
all changes.
instead of saying hello to your dad, you're like, yo.
Yo, Ralph.
It was fire. Yo, Ralphie. Anyway, obviously the title kind of gives it away. I'm assuming it's a brunch spot only. They're not open for dinner.
Nailed
it. I love doing my research. Let me tell you. Let's talk about your favorite brunch items.
Oh my goodness, the freaking mac and cheese with the grilled cheese croutons.
What?
Oh man. I'm a big fan of ordering something for the table. Usually you always order waffles for the table.
Is that what you do?
Yeah, you always have to.
I did not know that.
Nobody will ever be mad at you ordering waffles for the table. I guarantee it.
Are you sure?
Positive.
How about
they
if I
might
order some
say no.
pancakes?
That's okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's okay.
But now you're ordering mac and cheese with grilled cheese croutons.
Well, we all ordered lunch dishes.
Smart.
So I was like, and I wanted the mac and cheese with grilled cheese croutons. So I was like, they're going to want.
Right?
Who doesn't want to try this?
Why wouldn't you?
It was next level. I wanted to not like it because I didn't want to eat it all. It was so good.
So good.
So good.
Talk to me. What grilled cheese croutons?
Literally.
So it's like a mac and cheese bowl with little grilled cheese.
And it was the big fun fusilli one. Not fusilli. The
spiral ones. I know what you're talking
yep.
about. Yeah, fusilli. You had it. Yeah.
It was, and then little tiny grilled cheeses, crunchy. Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Like it was banana lands.
Banana lands, she says. I don't know if that's so much Manalapan as that's. Were you watching PBS before coming to the studio? Anyway, talk to me about what other dishes.
So as I had that as my side, my main dish was a waffle sandwich that had chicken fingers and cheese and bacon on it.
A waffle, chicken, cheese, bacon sandwich? Is that what you just said?
Yes.
Did you put that in the middle of the table?
No. I ended up giving half to Matt, but that was all mine. That was a hearty meal.
Oh my God.
It was delicious. And
no joke, it was hearty.
No joke. Yeah, didn't need the mac and cheese, but had to have the mac and cheese.
Cool.
Other people at the table there's a buffalo chicken waffle sandwich, which was really good.
I'm assuming
nice
the waffle sandwich is kind of their specialty.
Waffle sandwiches are one of their specialties. This is technically on, it's the waffle sandwich section. They have nice little sections on their menu. There was also I think Matt got a burger. Brittany got avocado toast.
Hi, Brittany. Brittany's a fan of the show.
Hi, Brett.
Exactly.
She got avocado
We
toast.
love Larry and Jerry, her grandparents.
They're my grandparents too.
Oh,
I adopted them as my own. They're everyone's grandparents.
Exactly.
They're the best.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it's wide variety of things that you can get there. They have everything from eggs Benedict to classic waffles.
So they
and
got the
pancakes.
classic fare.
They have the classics. So
Gotcha.
they have a lot of each type. So like there's options for your eggs Benedict. There's like the strawberry top pancakes, chocolate pancakes, different kinds of blueberry and chocolate pancakes as well. So they have a nice variety of that. They also have frozen lattes.
What? Oh, I was just going to ask you, can you get liquor there?
No.
No. So it's not, and you can't BYOB?
No,
You can't bring your own mimosa?
No. You're going to go, then you're going to get the lattes.
Frozen lattes. Talk to me
So
about
you
those.
can get regular lattes, and they have a lot of different flavors. So really great. But I was just in a mood that day. So I got the frozen latte. I got a frozen caramel latte. Came with whipped cream on top. It was really, really
Like you
good.
said, a good hangover
It was
type of
really,
thing.
really good. Again, it was a big meal. It was a
Right.
big meal. I was full. It was a big one. But it was all delicious. It was delicious.
That's what you need,
French
right?
fries were amazing. They have smoothies too. If you're looking for something a little bit like lighter, healthier side, like they have a lot of.
Well,
options.
after eating that bacon, chicken, cheese, and
You're
mac
not
and
gonna want
cheese,
anything else, yeah.
excuse me, waffle sandwich, then the mac and cheese with the good. Talk to me.
I almost forgot.
She almost forgot.
They have a sandwich called the Mac Daddy.
Talk to me.
Pulled pork and mac and cheese on a waffle sandwich.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. Like they do cool stuff like that you're not like, again,
You can't find us anywhere.
it's a niche. They're crushing it. They're good at it. Their waffles are phenomenal. You can go as basic as you want, or you can go Mac Daddy crazy.
I'm speechless here.
Yeah.
This is my type of food. Great hangover food. I know we said that several times here, but awesome hangover food.
Yeah.
Now, ambiance-wise, is it a big space?
Yeah, pretty big space. There's there's one really big room. I think there's another area with some more tables, but yeah, it's a pretty big space.
Do they accept reservations, or is it kind of like Turning Point in Hoboken where you
We didn't make a reservation. I don't
Okay.
think that they take reservations. That's in a strip mall.
Okay.
So there's, if
Plenty of parking.
Plenty of parking, and if you have to wait, there's a Rook Coffee down the way, which Rook, we love it. There's also like some shops and stuff like that. So you keep yourself busy. You put your name and walk around. We didn't have to wait. So
Yeah, I'm sure. Like it's probably like any brunch place. If you go on a weekend, you're gonna wait. If you go at 11 o'clock on a Monday, you're probably not, right?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, that is awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. You said that there was a specific dish that had some sort of Taylor ham. I thought you said earlier in the segment. Maybe I'm wrong. Because my next question for that is it Taylor ham or pork roll?
It's Taylor ham. It's Taylor ham. I'm looking around the room to see reactions.
It's
Taylor ham.
Because if you go to Manalapan, it might be a pork roll.
I will say Taylor ham. And I got called out one time in Philly.
Get out of here.
I said, I'll have a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. And they were like,
a pork roll?
the person who worked there was like, it's pork roll here. And I was like, I don't even want it.
There you go.
I don't want pork roll on my sandwich.
There you go. Well, this brings back the old debate, North Jersey and South Jersey, because there is no Central Jersey. So it's Taylor ham.
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
Finito.
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 she
You
says.
heard
Well,
it here
Daria
first.
DeLucia, thank you so much. On that note, we're going to have to go now. Make sure you visit Daria at Hoboken Eats, not at Manalapan Eats, but maybe soon. Just drop. No. She goes, no.
No,
Just
never.
Hoboken
Hoboken
Eats.
eats forever.
Yeah. Well, thanks again for coming on. I really
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it. Absolutely. And don't worry, folks. We will invite her back on, hopefully before she gets married, because we want to keep it at DeLucia instead of Pace or hyphenated. We'll see. Whatever makes our editor Greg crazy for writing all these names.
Whatever's the
longer one.
hardest.
Exactly. Thanks again, Daria. Folks, we will be right back. Peter Biancamano, your hostess with the mostest of the Pulse with Peter B. Folks, don't forget to go on our Facebook and our Instagram pages by searching The Pulse with Peter B. and like and follow us on each of those platforms. We're constantly updating those pages with previews of each week's segments and cool stories. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our email address at thepulsewithpeterb@gmail.com. Welcome back to the Pulse with Peter B. I want to thank Daria De Lucia for another great segment last segment discussing Project Brunch down in Manalapan. I'm hungry now, but the person to my right is a person that eats many meals and is always hungry, and that is our political analyst every week here on the Pulse, and that is Josh Sotomayor Einstein. Josh, how are you today, sir?
It's true. Unlike you, I have a hunger for the truth.
A hunger for the truth, he says. Wow. Well, let's see if anything that comes out of his mouth is the truth tonight. And because there's a hot button issue in the city of Hoboken, and that is the proposal of the new high school, Hoboken High School, that is, over at the JFK Stadium where they're going to put the field on top. Josh, before we get into details, why don't you explain to the audience what is actually being proposed?
So what's being proposed by the school board is that they float a $241 million bond in order to build, I believe, a 4-story high school, a new high school in the location of the stadium. The goal is, or their goal, is to then build the stadium on top of that.
The field on top of that, correct.
The football fields. I'm not very fluent in sports, as any viewer out there knows. And so the issue is, does the city need this spending? Does it need this for the education in the town? The proponents of this argue that the high school is currently, not state of the art and out of date, and that we need this investment because there are more students coming up through the grades, and that there's going to be essentially a mushroom effect. Now, not surprisingly, the proponents of this wasteful spending are incorrect.
So, but just to give some detail here. You said $241 million as a bond, and we all know what a bond is. It's kicking the can down the road. And I think you failed to mention the referendum that is going to be...
I didn't fail to mention it, but we have more time in this segment.
Okay, go ahead. So please discuss the referendum that is going in front of the taxpayers.
In order to make this happen, when a government entity floats a bond, especially local government, there has to be readings before the public. There has to be public meetings based on statute required by state law, and then it has to go to the voters. So the current people in the education sphere that are proposing this are saying, have run out and said already that there's going to be a vote on, I think it was January 25th.
I thought it was the 23rd.
Late January.
Late January, right.
And I mean, this is red flag number one, right? Because even if you're for this, the question is do you want any elements of government, whichever level of government, Board of Ed, city, county, state, federal, do you want them sneaking in an election when they clearly knew that there was just recently an election in November, and they know for school board there's an election in another year from now, but they're trying to sneak one in January, right after the holidays, right after, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, when no one's going to be paying attention. And coincidentally, because there are these statutorily required meetings, guess when these meetings are going to be happening? They're going to be happening while everyone's at home or schlepping to their parents or schlepping to their children. They're going to be focused on the beautiful things about this season, our families and our loved ones and our friends, and they're not going to, make time for paying attention to, some meeting, some community meeting about these issues. So they're really planning to do this, or they plan to do this in a very disingenuous way, that even if you're for this, which I don't think you should be, but even if you're for this effort to waste $241 million, the reality is this type of tactics, this sort of dirty politics, could be played for something you don't like. So you should be opposed to at least the methodology, if not the goal.
All right, let's talk about some of the reasons the school board, and of course, I don't have to repeat this to the audience. I was on the school board for 6.5 years.
You were on the school board?
Imagine that.
I've never heard that.
Until 2017, I hired the current superintendent. I was one of 9 people that hired the current superintendent, who's the mastermind behind this project, this massive $241 million project. Let's talk about their rationale for doing this. They're saying, number one, the high school is out of date, but yet the high school is one of the newer buildings in town.
Of the newer buildings in town, the high school was built in 1962. It's the second youngest building. What doesn't make sense in the rationale is they're saying in their plan, they want to keep the high school. They just want to move it to being a middle school after the new high school is built in the football field. So if you're going to argue on the one hand that the facility that the current high school is in is too out of date, then why are you planning on moving high school kids there? It doesn't. You can't claim otherwise. On the other hand, that it's good enough for middle school kids. It's either a bad facility or it's not. This is an example of them trying to have their cake and eat it too. And another thing is that they're promising this, that, and the other thing when it comes to shared community facilities that
Correct.
can be accessed
There
by
was an ice skating rink and tennis courts and all of that.
basically everything
track.
except for like a chocolate bakery for my belly. Although
I told you he's always hungry.
There is a proposal for a culinary classroom. But the reality is that the high school currently has a swimming pool that only very infrequently does the school board let community members use. So if you're concerned about the community and you want to give a community, buyback essentially or some benefit, the school board could be allowing more access to the swimming pool it currently has, but it chooses not to, which shows again that they're being somewhat disingenuous because they have the power to do something that they claim they want to do in the future. And I judge people by what they do now, not by what they say later.
So let's talk about the whys, more of the whys they want to build a new high school. And they're talking about student enrollment growth. The current high school has a capacity of 1,100, 1,200 students, and there are currently...
Actually, if you look at its plans from when it was built in 1962 and was first authorized and certified by the state, the actual capacity level of that building is 1,500 students.
Okay, 1,500, which makes my point even greater here. The current enrollment at the high school is about 400 to 500 students, you would say, correct? What they're banking on, though, is they're banking that with their increase of enrollment, again, this is what they're saying, their increase in enrollment at the elementary level, that in 4 years, when the high school is done, when the proposed new high school is done, if it passes, that they would have enough students to fill the high school. Do you agree with that?
Well, listen, the reality is that whether it was the last time the school board raised taxes or in almost so many years past, every time the school board, and you can look up this information yourself on their user-friendly budgets on their website, but almost every time that the school board has predicted an increase in numbers of students, they've got it wrong. There's actually been, some years they got it wrong by 15, they overestimated by 15. Other years they overestimated by 100. When they were justifying their last tax increase of 10%, which was during the pandemic, they estimated that they would have an enrollment increase of around 300, and they only had an enrollment increase of about 104. So on every single level, and every predictive model that they've ever used, they've been wrong. And there's a reason even the State Department of Education doesn't approve or really like these models. They talk about how you can't use them to predict the future, is because more often than not, they're incorrect, just like this $241 million boondoggle.
Exactly. And very, very quickly, because I voted against every school budget with a tax increase when I was on the board. Let's discuss the numbers here, because their PR team is in full effect saying this is going to cost, the bond is going to cost $426 per year per taxpayer in Hoboken. But that doesn't include the normal increase of the school budget that they can increase every year, correct?
Well, essentially, this is a punitive tax on the middle class in Hoboken.
So 426 sounds great. Any homeowner would say,
first of all,
$426 is great for a new high school. That's nothing.
That's what they claim to be the average. They haven't exactly been open and honest with the numbers and with the percentages it's going up. But if you're a middle class person or a working class person that lives in Hoboken, every little dollar that the city can nickel and dime out of you adds up. And a lot of these people claim to pretend that they support the working class, but when it comes to their pet projects, they don't care if they make them pay more money.
Well, Josh Sotomayor Einstein, we're definitely going to be talking about this in the future. It's only the end of November now.
Oh, and I'll definitely be writing op-eds on it with much more detail.
There you go. I mean, we'll be on the lookout for that for whoever wants to read boring writing. Kidding.
I know reading is hard for you. Functionally
anyway,
illiterate over here.
Anyway, all right, Josh. Thank you, and we'll keep at it. I mean, I hope so. Maybe.
I look forward to it.
All right, good. All right, folks. We will be right back. Peter Biancamano back with you. don't forget to watch us on cable access every Sunday and Monday at 9 a.m. Optimum Channel 18, Files Channel 46, and Comcast Channel 190. Also on Sunday mornings at 9:30 a.m., you can watch our show on our YouTube channel, and you can also binge watch all of our old shows. Who doesn't want to keep watching The Pulse with Peter B? We'll see you there. Welcome back to The Pulse with Peter B. And now that Josh Sotomayor Einstein is out of here, thank the Lord, we actually have a person with knowledge in his craft, and that is our sports insider, Mr. Eric Cruz. Eric, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Every time you're always speaking well of me, Pete. I appreciate that.
You deserve it. We're not going to talk about your record from last week, week 11 in the NFL.
Yeah, we're going to forget about that.
Exactly. We'll move on very, very quickly. But we have rapid fire here, buddy. We have the top 5 matchups for the week 12. I can't believe it's week 12 in the NFL. Where does the time go? I mean, now we have the extra week 18. But still, I mean, my math is usually bad on the show, but we are more than halfway done in the season.
Really,
exactly. All right, let's do our little rapid fire like we normally do here. And let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the very hot and cold Pittsburgh Steelers, heading to Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a dominant win against the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Who do you like in this matchup?
I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. To be honest with you, Pittsburgh has been up and down this year, but last week against the LA Chargers, it was a dogfight, man. It was a high-scoring game. Pittsburgh was missing a lot of the defensive players with the COVID-19, so they weren't, at full strength. Cincinnati was playing a beat-up Oakland team. Oh, I'm sorry, Las Vegas team.
Yeah, I was going to say.
They beat up a Las Vegas team that was having a lot of issues internally, and just a little history about these two teams. They played in week 3, and Cincinnati, pretty much dominated them throughout the whole game. They beat them up pretty bad.
That's right, division rivals,
right?
Yeah.
And this week it's going to be different. I think Pittsburgh, they're pretty much the hot team going in right now. Cincinnati is kind of still struggling, trying to find their way on defense. But I think Big Ben's got it going. I think Claypool's coming back healthy. I'm going to take Pittsburgh to beat Cincinnati.
And what a wild game last week with Pittsburgh and the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, it was insane.
Right down to the end. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, next matchup. And I guess these are the 2 best teams in the AFC right now, which in the beginning of the year, people kind of thought Tennessee was going to be good. I think you did. You predicted them to be very, very good. But nobody expected those first-place New England Patriots, who has just took over first place because Buffalo's on the snide right now. Yeah. Tennessee heading to New England and Foxborough. Who do you like in this one?
Man, I got to go with the hot hand right now, and that's they're both kind of hot.
I was going to say, they're both
But Tennessee
fantastic.
just lost to a really bad Houston team, and, New England is just catching fire. Mac Jones is playing really good football. You always know that a Bill Belichick coached-up team is going to be out there performing, doing what they got to do, being where they have to be, especially on defense. For me, Tennessee being hurt, not having Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill coming off a 4-interception game, Tennessee's kind of in flux right now. They really don't know what their identity is going to be without Derrick Henry. They wanted to put it in Tannehill's hand. It didn't really work out. Again, they lost to a really bad Houston team. And on the other hand, a New England Patriot team that's on fire. No one thought they were going to be in first place at this point of the year, or at least not as good as they are right now. Nobody thought that Mac Jones was going to be the best
with a rookie quarterback. I was going to say, right?
That team right now, Bill Belichick, always got to give that guy credit. Always got to let him just be the leader of the group. And I think everybody's following along. And for me, the New England Patriots are going to beat Tennessee in this game just because I think New England's just hitting their stride right now.
And if that happens, if your prediction comes true, which you've been a little, rough on your predictions lately, if your predictions come true, that means the New England Patriots will be the best team in the AFC, which, again, nobody expected that with a rookie quarterback. This is what happens when you have a great system.
Yes, absolutely.
And moving on to the next game, and this has been a person who was with Belichick side by side until 2 years ago, and of course, that's Tom Brady's Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a good win against a really, really bad New York Giant team. You're still bad. You can fire your offensive coordinator. When you're going to realize that Joe Judge is your problem, New York Giants, and your fans. I mean, you are just pathetic, the most pathetic organization, and you play in the same stadium as the Jets. So, I mean, that says a lot. lot,
It's
right?
safe to say that you're not really a Giants
No,
fan or a Joe Judge
exactly,
fan.
exactly. Thank you. I'm not a big Jason Garrett fan, but he definitely was a scapegoat there. Anyway, they're playing an Indianapolis Colts team who is shocking the world, week in and week out. I mean, they've got some very, very, very big wins under their belts. I think this is going to be a much tougher game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do you like in this one?
Well, Pete, just to remind you, when I picked the division winners, I did have the Indianapolis Colts
did?
to win it, just because I thought Carson Wentz was going to be an X factor for that team, and he has been. He's been very good, but Jonathan Taylor has been phenomenal. Right now, he's in the conversation for winning MVP, and just this year, nobody even knew if he was going to be able to take the horns of that running back room and be the guy, and now he really is just that guy. So for me in this game, though, I'm not going to go against Tom Brady. Every time I do, he beats me, and I'm trying to win now. So
He is
I'm
the
gonna
GOAT for a reason.
I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. But, I mean, if there's a team that could really go out and shock Tampa Bay this week, it is going to be the Colts. They have a hell of a running game. Carson Wentz is making those deep passes. He's getting the ball down the field. They're just overall playing really good football defensively too, Indianapolis. But I'm going to stick to Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Tom in this game, and I think they're going to pull it out.
And speaking of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, we'll move on to the next game, which I think is the game of the week. And I'm not sure if it's the night game or not. We'll put it on your screen. I should have done my research before the show. And that is the Los Angeles Rams visit Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams visiting, of course, a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Monster matchup, as I like to call it. What do you like?
I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers. Even though they came off a tough loss against Minnesota, it was away. Minnesota's playing good ball. It was a field goal at the end. But I just think that Green Bay right now is they're still in good shape. Aaron Rodgers, he's getting a lot of his guys back. Devontae Adams, who again is always in the MVP, is in the MVP race. Excuse me, but. For me, that Green Bay Packers defense is really the X factor. We all talked about Von Miller going to the Rams and Odell Beckham trying to decide whether it's Green Bay and L.A. He eventually chose L.A., but they just look out of sync. They don't look good on defense right now. They look banged up. Offensively, they're not really running the ball well. They're still struggling to get that part of the game going. And Matthew Stafford, as you see, he's turning the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
And that's because they're putting a
He's
lot
looking like the Matthew Stafford in Detroit.
Yeah, and the Matthew Stafford in Detroit had a lot on his plate. He was trying to do everything for that team. And the Rams,
You
I think
felt
they
terrible for him. You
They
really
just need to slow it down. They're going to run into a Green Bay team right now, though. Like I said, defensively, they're playing really good ball. So I'm going to pick Green Bay in a really close game. It's a 50-50 game for me. I could have won either way, but I'm going to pick Green Bay just because they're playing a little bit better right now.
All right. Well, speaking of a defensive type of division, smash mouth type of football, it's always the AFC North.
Yeah.
And we did cover the Steelers and the Bengals a little earlier this segment. Let's talk about the other two teams in there because they're going at it with Baker's Brownies. The Cleveland Browns visiting the Dirty Birds, as everybody likes to say. I think the Eagles are Dirty Birds, but different story for a different time. Or the Falcons. Visiting the Baltimore Ravens, of course, Jackson at quarterback.
Yeah.
Who do you like in this AFC North smash mouth type of game?
Well, we talked about Bill Belichick, we talk about coaching. I'm going to do the same thing when I talk about Baltimore. Yeah. John Harbaugh has that team playing. Just past week, they missed Lamar Jackson, with an illness. It wasn't COVID-related, but he was sick. He couldn't play. And they went into a dogfight. They ran the ball as much as they could, and the young quarterback that they brought in, he did the best that he could, I should say. He made the right reads here and there, but he did pull it out at the end. And that just goes to the coaching staff. They had that team prepared. They weren't sure if Lamar was going to play leading up to the game. So, they had to get those two guys ready to go. I think they did a great job coaching and getting that win for their team. On the flip side, the Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield is not really showing anything. He's really digressing in this part of the season. He has a lot of injuries. Across the board, he doesn't. And Nick Chubb has been great, but he hasn't been healthy. He's been in and out.
Speaking of inconsistent, the Browns have been very inconsistent.
No consistency in that team right now. So I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. And I think they're going to win the division, to be honest with you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm going to call it again.
So I was going to say, you know what happens, Eric, when you decide to add another game to our segment over here from 4 to 5 games in our rapid fire, there's a greater chance of you losing another game, too.
I think of it this way. I think I'm going to win.
There you go.
I'm fully confident that I'm going to win this week.
I absolutely. Well, our sports insider, Eric Hurst, thanks for having us on. What? I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, folks. Thanks for being on tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Absolutely. Folks, join us next week for The Pulse on everything you need to know. I'm Peter Biancamano. I hope you have a great week, everybody.
The Pulse with Peter B. is a proud partner of Eyes on NJ.